Hello and welcome. In this episode, we'll be taking a quick look at the wrap text update to Infinite Note, and then we're going to give you a detailed description on how to organize and manage your note databases. So first to the wrap text. This is a function that is now easily controlled in the 2D using hotspots. So let's have a look at how it works in our 3 note options. You'll also notice that we have updated the interface. We have shuffled a few things around and renamed them to make the logic of controlling this component a lot simpler. So after we have nominated the catalogs that we want to access, we then choose the label content. In this instance, we're looking at the specific note and how the text wrapping function is implemented. So we have specific note, click OK, and to wrap the text, we simply grab this hotspot and shift it to control the width of the note. For the next 2 note types, all selected notes and the specific note group, we have a series of hotspots that control the width of the columns of each part of the note. Hence, we can wrap each column independently. As you can see, this allows a high level of efficient control over the display of these notes. Okay, so that is the new wrapping text function. Now let's move on to database management. To understand how you want to use your databases, you first need to understand how the object uses them. There are 16 groups within the object, and each one of these groups is an identical entity that can access a catalog or a database of note. These are the catalogs or note databases that this group has been set up to read. You nominate which databases you want each of these groups to have access to via the database array at the end of the line. So in here you can add a new database. You could set each group to access a single database, or you could set each group to access different databases. Okay, so now let's have a look at what databases we have available. So here you can see our databases. There are 17 in total. We have the assembly database, and then we have 16 databases for each note group. We can copy any of these database names into our array to make this database accessible for that element. Hence, naming them based on their group number is the most basic and rigid logic. It does not help you determine what to put in each database. So let's look at what each database can contain, and then we can determine what to put into them. Each database can contain up to 32,000 values, so that is its utmost capacity. Each note has 16 parts, so 16 values. So if we divide 32,000 by 16, then we can have 2,000 notes in each database. So now you need to determine how many notes you have and how to arrange them into groups. If you only have, say, 10 groups, most likely broken up into structural, site, MEP, and each group has a maximum of 50 notes, then you only have a total of around 500 notes, and that is well below the maximum capacity of each database of 2,000 notes. Hence, you could fit all your notes in a single database, and you could delete 15 of these 16 note group databases. If you have more than 20 groups and each group can contain up to and over 100 notes, then you'll need more than one database. But as you can see, the capacity is quite large, and you may not need anywhere near 16 databases. Before we get onto the solution, we need to understand a few more functions of the database interaction. Firstly, we can rename databases and then control which ones are accessed through the object. For example, if I rename this database, then I copy this name and go back into my project, and I'll make it available for this first one. So I'll copy that name in there. That's just to do a quick refresh, so we can refresh this database here. And now you can see we have access to that database there. So you can ignore this whole numbering of 1 to 16 of these database naming and name your databases by your chosen category. There is one final and very important factor to be aware of, and that is our remote function. This function allows you to read databases from a location outside of Archicad. So you can see the default setting is local. This means the object is reading the databases in the loaded library. This is my current loaded library. And so these are the databases that it is reading. When you switch to remote or remote multiple, then it reads databases stored in a location you nominate in the model view options. In the CAD Swift Infinite Libraries component catalogs, go to data, and then you nominate the location for your databases. So this can be located anywhere that your computer can access, whether that be a local company server, intranet, or the cloud, or just somewhere on your local C drive, as is the case here. So now let's look at how we might apply this knowledge to achieve the most efficient way to manage our databases. Let's use a small scale example of less than 2,000 notes. So, with less than 2,000 notes, we have the option to eliminate all these databases and only keep one. So we can select all, we need our assembly database, and we need a single group database, and we can delete the rest. Then we can make sure that this group is used throughout our object. We'll also incorporate the remote function, and that means we can start with this group as our template, and then we can copy these notes into each project and have project specific notes. And then we use our model view options to point to that project folder. This will work well provided you don't expect your series of notes to grow much in the future, and provided you're starting with less than 2,000 notes. In option 2, we would create a separate database for all our categories. So we'd bring back our databases, and like this one, we would create a structural, we could create site, mechanical, and so on. And in each of these databases, we would have the typical group of notes for these categories. Now this might make some of the databases quite small, but this is not a problem. We'll stick with the simple local method here to just simplify things. And when we need to vary a note for a project specific reason, we'll duplicate that group within the database and create a project specific group for those notes. This also works quite well, but if your group has over 100 notes, then you're only able to manage 20 projects this way. More importantly, you run the risk of a user selecting, applying, or editing the wrong note group. Option 3, which is the best solution, combines the best parts of option 1 and 2 by creating separate databases for each category, but also incorporating the remote method, thereby duplicating these databases for each project and always working with a project-specific database. This way you have access to all your notes and you can edit them on any project without compromising your original set of notes. This will allow you to incorporate temporary variations of the group of notes within that database, or even have multiple groups that are variations of the same notes based on a certain application. We believe this is the simplest and most powerful logic, hence we will set up the defaults of this object to mimic this methodology. However, the idea of this tool is to be flexible in the way in which you apply the logic. So if you have a better logic, please feel free to use it, and please share it with us if you're willing. We hope you enjoyed this video and it's cleared up the path for you with Infinite Note. Thank you for watching.